Welcome, friends of Ai4Autism. Welcome back. It's great to have you all back again. And today we're going to continue our series of interviews where we hear from members of our community and listen to their stories. And we have a wonderful guest with us today. Chris is a special needs speaker based in London, and Chris runs online seminars helping families understand and cope with autistic family members. In fact, Chris is autistic himself, and today we'll be hearing his story and we'll get a chance to learn from his experience. So please join me in welcoming Chris Israel. Hey Chris, how's it going?
Yeah, I'm good.
Fantastic. Chris, let's dive straight into it. Chris, tell us a little bit about yourself and how old you were when you were diagnosed as autistic.
Okay, about me, I'm more like, I'm more of a friendly, I'm very fun, adventurous sometimes, and sometimes I can be a bit of annoying for the fun of it, but at the same time, I'm more driven, passionate person. I'm more advice person at some point. I'm the encourager sometimes, and that's just my profile. And I love to be around different people, and I love to just move around for aspects of life. It doesn't really whether you're on high level or low level, doesn't really matter. I just love to play along, in that kind of area. So me being diagnosed as autistic, that was just 30 years ago. This was not in the new century, but in the old century, because then again, people hadn't no knowledge in that area, but except for the whites, because the whites know it more than the blacks and the Asians, because they've got more experience in handling that area. But because I mean, no offense, but when my family came to this country, they had no knowledge about it at all, and it was a bit of a battle. So it was like, how do you now cope or work with that sort of thing, which they've never seen or experienced in their lives? Because it's like when you are out of your zone and you're on a different land and something was to happen to your kid, you ask yourself this question: what do you now do? Because at the time there was no advanced technology. At the time, things were just on the basics. So what you would have had to do, you had to get medical advice, or you go to someone who you know, or you can borrow books in that area, or you can just be around that person who has autistic children. So you will now get to understand more about how you're dealing with it, how you're handling it, because not every person that knows how to deal with those kind of things. And I mean, with me, it was like a challenge, because I mean, it was not really like something I dreamed of becoming. It's not something that I really wanted to get into. It's not something that I wanted to look into. So nobody chose, neither for anyone. But I think it was just really a tough battle on its field, because when it happened and it made an impact of my family, they decided to quit on their pursue their own passion, their career, dream career, whatever. They quit all of that just to handle me in that area. It took them a very long time, I'm telling you, it really did, because it's not something that it's just like A to Z. It took them quite a while for them to deal with that area. I mean, luckily enough, I had supports in schools, and then majority. But then again, it was really like, yeah. But then again, you just have to look at how you can bring the best for your kids. So I think that just all started.
Yeah. Well, it's fascinating. You've touched on some of the things that I wanted to explore, like how your family were, what they had to do, how you responded to it. But I'd like to backtrack a little bit to the actual time you were diagnosed. Do you remember the process, what the diagnosis process was, how you were assessed, or what the process was like 30 years ago?
I wouldn't, because as a kid, you would not really know. You will not know. Here's the honest truth. You will not know it at all, because you will not, because look, you mean I cannot recall like the time of me being processed? I cannot recall the day. I may not recall the time. It's a wow. Like I said, it's a wow, because when I say it's a wow, it can be long to track something back. So it's likely a long-term thing, you know, for me to just say that, okay, this is where it all kicked off. If I could remember everything, I would have been accurate. But like I said, it's really like tough for me to remember. It's hard. That one's a bit hard question for me to answer, because I would not really know much as a
Right.
little kid.
No, that makes perfect sense. And I imagine, considering how it was 30 years ago here in the UK, a lot must have changed since then as far as understanding is concerned, and also diagnostic methods, I guess.
Okay, back then, okay, if you were, okay, let's just say it, if you were white then and you had your strong understanding about dealing with autistic, that is great. They don't struggle. They don't really have the problem with it. They accept it and they find ways to get it right. They don't, well, it depends really. It depends on like who is stronger in handling that area, who is perseverant in dealing those areas. Because you see, some people, look, I've come across to many people, and you know, I've seen them. But when it comes to dealing with those areas, sometimes they're not firm enough to say no, or whatever it is. And then that's when they get carried away, and that's when they be like, there's no discipline in that area. Because I remember there was a time there was a school that I don't know, Southwark Council called my family to send me to that school. Then we turned it down, because not that we hated it, it's because my mom didn't trust them at all. So it was really, really a bit tight for me to go into it, because then it would have been it would have been a bit horrible, you know, because for me to have been in that place, you know, because then again, you know, when people become like, yeah, I mean, they might be friendly, but when it comes to other people, you know, sometimes when it comes to females, yeah, majority who are dealing with autistic people, you know, they have to be strong enough. They've got to be strong enough in dealing with it. Guys, majority, yeah, they can be, because they've got more advantage in that area. When they're firm and that's it, that eases off the pressure. But I mean, there was a lady that was very firm, and she stood toe to toe. She wouldn't back down from anything, you know, because there was a time, what's his name? There's a guy that that didn't eat dairy, wasn't allowed to eat dairy. She used her wisdom in dealing in catering that area. She was she was so wise. And then there was another guy who didn't like that couldn't eat meat. He was a vegetarian. So that one alone was like very, very what's it called? It was very tight, you know. It was very, very tight. But again, it was like what's it called? It was like you know, since then, I can't remember what year was there. I think it was 1997.
Mhm.
Then I think everybody stopped eating meat because of the guy, you know, so he turned everybody into vegetarians, you know. I don't know why. It was very critical, but I don't know, but it was probably because like, I don't know what was the reason why, you know, we couldn't eat ham and chicken or that stuff in class, you know. But no, actually, no, when it comes to cooking, we couldn't add chicken or ham because of the guy. I don't know whether he was allergic, I don't really know. but but what I really respect my former primary school teacher is her wisdom really, really paid off. She was, in fact, she was even better than any other tutors around that I had, because some of them will be like, rah, that's it. Some of them will be like, rah, that's it. That for her, she was very strong, very, very strong.
Yeah,
and she
that's
never
incredible.
gave up the fight. So
Yeah.
I mean, well, she doesn't work anymore, so which I heard. So, but
Mhm.
she was very, very, very wonderful. I'm
Yeah.
telling you. Wonderful.
Yeah, I think this next question I'm going to ask you ties into what you're describing right now about this tutor and also family as well. I mean, after discovering you were autistic, how were friends and family towards you? You mentioned earlier about how your parents had to make some changes in their life plans to accommodate this new circumstance. And how were they?
Okay, in the aspect of tutors, yeah, in the aspect of them, they were very like what are they called? Wisdomatic. Like again, like I said about that one, because especially for my family, I mean, it took them quite long, for them to have played in, because when you are new to this whole thing, when you are what do you call it? You don't have any idea how it works, how it plays. Sometimes you just have to put your brain into it, or else you're just like, well, but because now things have changed, now people can now look online and they can now say, fine, this is where we know how we handle these things, because me being in the Black community, in the African Black community, it was very, very, very tough down there, I'm telling you. Because for me to be opposite, because I never had friends at the time, because like they had no idea of how it all started. Because when you be around them, sometimes they will look at you stiff, like it's not really their fault that they behave like that. It's just because that they didn't really have any what's it called? They didn't really have any strong knowledge, because there was no really educational wise. There's no, I don't know. There was really nothing to back it up. So instead, so it's just basically what's it called? It's basically looking at, oh God, you know what? I can't even deal with this. I can't deal with that. So in the aspects of these things, one just has to be um, very mindful, that you're not dealing with the normal thing, you're dealing on another level. But and you're dealing with something else that's it's on a whole new level. So I think with my family, I think they've taken advice, they've taken this and that. But then, I mean, I love the way my family stood with me. But sometimes, but one thing that could have been better was that if they could have put a bit of balance, because because me, I grew up into, personally, I'm Christian, so that's just the truth of the matter, because I grew up in a Christian home. I'm not saying I'm not trying to play religious or da 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 da, whatever it is. No, 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 no. But for me, because I grew up in a Christian, so that one was it was all the major factor in my entire life, despite me being the opposite, because when it comes to autistic and faith, that alone was really another level, because when you sit with people who are becoming really opposite, it's like, how do you now fit in? How do you know? Because it's like you're not in primary school, you're in a different whole ball game. So it's just like when when you can't be still, you're just like, you just want to have your own place. But because they didn't have soft play or sensory stuff for your kid to indulge in, that was just where you got a little bit of a challenge, because when sometimes, when African parents, they start beating their kids, for you being this, for you being that, and you're like, rah, and you can't even sit still. And I just said to myself, it's because I'm not blaming my mom and dad, no, 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 not that. But all I'm just gonna say is that, yeah, it's because when the church doesn't have no awareness at the time, then it makes it a bit very difficult for one to cater, because it's very, very tough, I'm telling you, because when you try to restrain your child, it's like, it's not really good, because when they're failing to do so, when they're failing to know, like, what does he want? He doesn't want to be, be restrained. It's better you give him the space and let him run. Do you understand? Give space, etc., etc., etc. You know, sometimes, you just have to be like, you just have to keep, you know, don't know. It's really, really, really a bit of a challenge, I'm telling you, because it's not like, you're doing something, because, when people look at you, then they'll just say, oh, this, that, this, that. I'm like, But I've come to realize that it's not really my fault that everything I saw as a child, and then you dodge those things. So I think that's just pretty about it.
And I can imagine, based on what you've said right now, had there been a greater awareness within the church, within the community, things might have been a bit different. And from that, you've been able to learn from that experience and be able
No,
to fashion things differently, would you say?
no, not where I was. We didn't really have that kind of thing because we were more into um we were just more basic to spiritual aspects. We didn't really have a balance. So that's probably why we didn't really have a balance. In that time is where the place where I went to, where I left, they didn't really have it at the time. So,
Right.
but now it's because some other places now I've catered that area. So that's where I'm now pouncing on teaching and sharing, doing this and doing that, because you don't want people to get to the place, yeah, oh, that's it, that's it, that's it. You want to make yourself clearly known. You want to be more vocalized. You want to be transparent, because if you're not transparent, then you're just trying to pretend, and then you're just going to make everybody feel like, yeah, that's it. But I've come to realize, and I've come to know myself, that you have to be transparent always in your life, because if you're not transparent always in your life, you can't win everybody. Because, okay, the Black community expects you to do self-denial so that you can win them over. And that is not where I choose that path. I know it's not like something I'm proud of, for me just trying to pretend that I'm not. I'm trying to deceive myself, and then later on, then you go back to square one. So it's something that you are trying to deny so you can be accepted. Do you understand? But I think I remember at 16 years old, that was the time I had my little first taste of depression, because I was thinking to myself, I was so rubbish. I was like, so rubbish. I was like rubbish. And then I was this and that, this and that, this and that, this and that. And then all of a sudden I was just like, well, I break down. I've never broke down in tears at 16 years old. I've never broke down. I've never broke down in terms of like me admitting me being autistic, because I'm telling you, there's something I've never done in my entire life, which is just break down like that and sob in front of, like, I don't know, it took place, maybe one of our family friends, and I think one of her nephew or her nephew or things like that, just saw me. He was just about, how old was he? I think he was like 9 or something. He was 9. And I was like, what's a 9-year-old doing? I was just sitting down there. I was just telling him. But he didn't know, because he was too young to know. He was too little to know. So it was just like me breaking down. I was just breaking down like badly. I was just like, wow, I've never broke down like that in my life. I've never saw that kind of emotion. I've never been in that place. Never. I've never felt like, that was the first taste. Then again, I was saying to myself, why is it because not everyone's accepting me? So it was just like, okay, should I try and deny myself? Should I try and change, and then everything for the selfish people to get to like me? But I mean, to make matters a bit even worse, I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't know how to deal with those things. I really didn't know. I was just really like, I don't know. It was really, really a bit like of a battle. It's like, when you're in secondary school, it was even worse. So sometimes you just get out of control, and then you now start saying, oh my God, this is just what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because I remember Channel 4 came to my school in secondary school. They were making me normal. And that one was like, I really, really became, that alone was like, I don't really know what Channel 4 was making something out of. because if they really thought about it, if they thought about it, then I was thinking like, are they really going to um, bring something to positive, or is it going to bring the negative side? Unfortunately, what they did, they recorded the negative side, and I was like, I didn't know, because I was just, how old was I, 16 or 17, either between, for that to go live, and then I was like, I don't know what the guys got out of it, what they got. So personally for me, it was basically, for me, it was just like I don't know, it was like you just had to lie. And in fact, there was a time one of the TV producers called me over, and there was like, I was lying. I felt I was lying, that I was really lying to them, but I wasn't really being transparent. I was trying. I think there was a time I tried to self-deny that I wasn't there or not, because that alone was a bit of a blunt. I was just like confessing it. I don't know, but then it got to a point I was like, all right then, because when you're as a young person, you're like in and out, in and out. You're like, what do you do? So I think the soul self-discovery for me was going to take some years to know and find the real me. I was telling somebody, like when I was in secondary school, it was more like I was trying to find the real me. I wasn't trying to find trying to find anybody else. I was trying to find the real me and get my real identity up and running. So it took me quite a long time for me to do that, especially in special needs school, in secondary school. It was like the same thing. So I think that was just probably about it, really.
It's absolutely phenomenal. I mean, thank you so much for sharing that with us. Because sometimes people would think when it comes to self-denial, there's one critical moment in time when there's a turning point. But I'm guessing in your case, what you shared, it was over a period of time, accepting things, having that self-discovery. Would you say that's correct?
Pardon?
So would you say the journey of self-discovery and acceptance was something that took place over a significant amount of time?
Yeah, it did, because you have to look at like where you are in your life. You got to I mean, it was very very difficult. It was a bit like, okay, you're opposite. Like, you're not told your dad or your mom that you want to do self-discovery for yourself. Sometimes you've got to sometimes you have to take risk for yourself. I know it was a bit of a challenge, because when parents have been overprotective and there and there and there, sometimes you have to know where you are in your life. You have to self-discover. You have to do a lot. I know it's not really easy, because when you're like, when you're dealing with somebody who's special needs, etc., 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 he wants to find his own self-discovery for himself, so he will now know where he is, because like that took me quite a long time to know, the self-discovery, because when you do self-discovery, it's like it doesn't take you 1 year, it takes you more than one. It takes it, because when you now go through those stages, you have your moments, you have everything, and before you know it, it's like, okay, this is the reality. You can't do anything about it. You can't even change who you are in your life. All you can do is just love yourself and embrace yourself. And then it got to the point when I said, you know what, I really think that all of this was like part of being embracing. Do you understand? But it's just that sometimes when you're dealing with Black African folks, all that kind of stuff, and then sometimes if you tell them this and that, sometimes they'll be like opposite, and sometimes they want to put words of discouragement. They will just do this all sorts of bull crap or whatever it is. And then at times my brain is like, oh, I can't bother anymore. Sometimes I'll just quit it and just leave it. So
Mhm.
I think this self-discovery is like, sometimes you have to know where you are in your life. You have to know what you want to do. You have to know where you want to become in your life. Sometimes it's not, parents can just put a lot of some theology ideas in your head or whatever, and then you're saying, no, this is not for me, or they want to choose your future, they want to choose your destiny. Sometimes you have to be strong enough to say no. You have to be strong enough to say, you know, this is where you're going. Because look, for me personally, it was very, very tough for me, I'm telling you, because for you to do self-discovery, because when I was 25, that was when it was time for me to say no to certain things. It was time for me to say no and stand on my two legs, because I didn't have a chance to stand on my two legs when I was 21 or 22 or 23, because at the time, you know, you were just like, you know, you were just restricted or you were limited. But as you got older, that is where you want to be. Like, you know, when you get older, like 25, that was the time for me to become a rebel, to being overprotective, was for me of saying no, because the times I have to say no to whatever it is, because I don't want you to be controlling me for the rest of your life, and you don't want to be like dealing with me as if I'm coming to kid, or else the insecurities will start showing, and that's gonna make me want to go away from you. That's gonna make me want to say no. So I think the aspects of that, I realized that this whole thing made me realize that I need to just love myself. I'm in my early 30s at the end of the day, but I just need to like embrace me and don't really care too much about who is really watching or who is really looking at you. You just do what you can do, or just be the best version of you. And then there was
Yeah.
times mom would say like, you know, dad would say like, you know, if you want female to love you, you have to, you know, do this, you have to do that, not to win. I'm like, listen, it's not about trying to win them over. It's about you being you. If you be you and do what you need to do, that's when they'll come. But you're not going to do it in pressure, man. You're not going to do it in certain things. So I think that's just where I got to that stage of my own self-discovery, really.
Mm. Absolutely fascinating, Chris. And with everything you've gone through, with your experience as an autistic person, what did you set out to do, and how have you been raising awareness over the past few years? And I'd like you to maybe answer in general, and also in particular relating to the Black community.
Okay, personally, I mean, it wasn't just only for Black communities, it's Asian communities as well. So I'm going to include them too as well, because like it's both sides, really. It's not one sided, right? This whole thing, Autism Champions, came in 2017. That was like around March, you know, it was around March or April. That's when it all started. Because look, the idea was, in fact, that vision came to me when in early 2017, that it was going to really change lives. It was going to touch lives. It was going to make an impact on different lives, you know. So that alone really made a lot of difference, you know. So that's the only thing, you know. So I just say that, look, you know, all of this is just like a blessing for me, because that gives me a chance to give back to the Black community, bring this strong faith and bring the positive, because I feel like we have been overlooked, and I think we've been tempered. I think the special needs and autistics, and they've been given the hardest time of their lives, you know, especially what kind of community they're going to. Sometimes they will push you, sometimes they will show inability attitude, they will show all those nasty thinking mentalities towards them. And I feel, for me, I just feel uncomfortable in that area. So I feel, for me, that it's best that one should just stand up. Well, for me, I decided it's time for me to stand up and just make a difference. I mean, thankfully I did. Then the year after, I did so. And then, I mean, generally, the principal thing is that we are trying to promote equality, because if the world is talking about equality, you know, rights or accepting rights, then I think the special needs and autistic deserve to be in that area as well. Because if you look at work, you know, if you look at employment, if you look at anywhere, relationships, I think there should be acceptance as well. I think there should be acceptance and treating each other equality as well, because you don't treat them as if like he's this and that. You just give this limited mentality attitude towards this one or that one. No, what I do is I basically not just teach one acceptance. We talk about the areas of affecting lives, the areas, okay, how to protect, how to educate, the community itself, how do we now get support in schools, how we can raise more, you know, if there's signs that your autistic or especially child has been bullied and everything. And we go via a range of topics. Sometimes we talk about saying no to inability, we talk about this and that, this and that. So what we're now doing is, because I've got bare connections with, with people who work in the autistic field like yourself, or anybody, anybody like yourself, or could be anyone. There's a lady that works for the National Autistic Society. I don't know if you know her. Her name is Vanessa Bob. I've spoken to her, and she works in that field. She teaches, she does Zoom meetings as well. There's another lady that works, on her platform called Shola Gundi. She also has an autistic child as well, that's aspiring to become a gymnastics as well. So, she has and then there's another lady that I've met as well, that spoke at my seminar once. Her name is Grace Alexandra. She also has a special needs son as well, and she's been doing so fantastically well with him, and she's done quite a lot. So I know I've been a lot of people who have been a blessing, in that field, and I've invited them to speak on my seminars, the physical ones, we did maybe the 3 years back, or 3 years back. It was really, really good, and it was really, really lovely. That, I mean, now, and now I do like Zoom meetings per month now. So we are going to do it. But now for the physical meetings, the physical meetings will likely go on around maybe June or July, either one of them. So it's likely going to be in June or July, but hopefully sooner or later. And then hopefully I might bring you along so that we can speak to just the general topic, just making things in general, so that we're not really making it one thing, because like we're going to try and look into more like awareness on cyberbullying, awareness in like who's bullying. We're going to talk about bullying. We're going to talk about financial support, living independency. We're gonna try and crack on this very year. We don't want to be stuck on autism and faith. No. Want to try and move forward. Want to try and breathe forward in that area, so that we can make it more interesting for people to come, and if they want to ask questions, they can. So I think that's just the aim of us moving forward, because now I've connected with you. That alone is going to bring more ideas. That alone is going to really make more things very open for me. It's going to make things interesting, because I know you've worked with people, you've advised people, you've given them so many things that you can give to them. So I'm really happy that what I'm doing it not to gain what's it called, recognition, but I'm doing it for a change in the field. So that's just it.
Yeah. Well, that's absolutely fascinating. In fact, as we approach the end of the meeting, we'd love you to leave some information so that anyone who wants to connect with you can do so and benefit from the services and the knowledge that you have to offer. I do have a question that's relating to the work that we do. So we're a tech team based in London, and as Ai4Autism, we are currently raising awareness so that we can build a tool to help people with sensory sensitivity issues to help identify triggers. Would a tool like this have helped you, or would you see it helping other autistic individuals?
I think it will help other autistic individuals, because especially for parents who have really got no idea how it operates or how it works. Because if we can get to that place of building more tools and everything, then then we can make a lot of difference, in everywhere we go to. Because I think for me, I really wanted to do something like that, because of the pandemic and lockdown, etc. So hopefully, because I've spoken to one lady who lives in Manchester, etc. So I said, hopefully we're likely going to do some Zoom. We're going to do probably a Zoom meeting for those who live in Manchester, and so that they can really get something knowledgeable. Then I said to her that hopefully by next year, we're likely going to put Manchester on the map as well, because we're not going to just keep it in London only. We're going to do some, we might do two in London, We might do two in London and we might do one in Manchester, you know, so we can teach, so that we can run seminars, you know, so that we can do what we can do and just keep the whole base going, and then et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I mean, apart from that, you know, we really need to make it more vocalized, you know, like I said, because I was talking to an organization in Nigeria, which basically, you know, where I'm from, you know, but I'm British, by the way. So I was telling them, like, the only problem with your community is that you're not really vocalized enough. You're not really doing what you need to do. So I was telling the person, if you want to see changes, don't give up, be more vocalized. Because if you're not vocalized, then you can't really win anything. So that's just the truth.
Hmm. That's absolutely fascinating. Chris, I want to thank you for a truly remarkable interview. And before we do come to an end, I've got two questions. The first thing is there a message, one message you would like to send out to our audience about autism and what it's like to be on the spectrum?
Right. If your daughter or your son is on the spectrum, your job is not to change him or her. Your job is not to try anything. Your job is to care and protect and do what you can do for your kid. And if he or she's got the talent, let's focus on investing in them, pouring more time into it, and make them become better for the future, make them become better for the society. But if I just go sit down there, whine or moan or complain and say, oh, this and that, then we're not going anywhere. So it's better if we focus on building talents and gifts, we focus on investing, send somebody to teach them in whatever they're great at, or up the level. Then we don't know the kind of difference. Sorry, then they will, I mean, it's like they will now know that you want to make them become better for the future, rather than you just throwing full force on them. Because many times, you know, let's go back to where I was. Like, there was a time when there was too much pressure, too much full force. Sometimes, you know, you don't breathe. Because there was a time I was playing football for my secondary school. The scouts from Charlton were watching me, so they wanted to give me a trial. So they gave me a trial out of nowhere. I was like, what on earth? Because I was like, maybe I wasn't playing at my best. Maybe I wasn't really playing at my best, but they saw me, you know, what's it called? They saw me being at my very best. They saw me being at my very best, you know. I don't know. I don't know whether I was at my best or not. Then they gave me a trial, you know, to come and have a go with them and see if I will make it or not. But that alone was thrown away. It was really, really sad. And because my family failed to come to compromise, or failed to, you know, to give me the opportunity, that alone was due to like selfish interest. It was due to selfish interest, and that was really, really bad of them, because that alone would have changed everything. That alone would have made me something to change, because then I could have became a footballer by then. I would have just either just become great. I would have worked on my fitness. I would have come good. I would have either played abroad and got some crazy money, and then from there I would have just ended up, you know, living a luxurious life, and then I would have just really had my finances sorted, you know, and then I would have not even struggled, because even if I did, I would have got somebody to look after my finances, just make sure that, you know, he or she's looking after it, you know. And then at times, you know, I wouldn't even, I mean, I may be recognized, but I wouldn't even want to be involved in the media, because the media, if you're getting into the media, that's when they're going to screw you or your image rights. So that was why I was just like, what's it called? I was like, well, that opportunity alone was thrown and dashed. Sometimes you don't want to be stressed alone. You don't want to be under pressure. Sometimes it takes a lot of guts and grace for you to say, no, this is not where I want to be. You know, this is the place I really want to be. So no matter where you are in your life, you know, your job is to love him or her, and not show inability attitude towards them, because this is where we get it most likely more in the Asian and Africans. And then when we do that, that's when we're not really making no difference, and that's when we're struggling, we're whinging and whining about it over and over again. So I believe we just got to change the way we approach, and change the way how we look at it or review it. So I think that's just my answer for that person who asked the question.
A very powerful message there. Thank you so much, Chris. And the final question as this interview comes to an end is, how can our audience find out more about you and the work you do, and how can they get in touch?
If you guys really want to get in touch with me, they can, okay, two things. They can go on, okay, they can look on, all right, let me just log into my Facebook page so that I can tell them where to find me. Okay, where to find me. So, okay. For those who want to contact me through Facebook, yeah, you just type Prince Israel and you'll find me. And when you find me, you will see number 10 t-shirts. That's me. That's me. Just number 10. You will just click it and I will accept you. You know, just when you see number 10 again, that's me. If it's not number 10, that's not me. So look out for the 10, because I'm going to keep that 10 so it's easy for people to find me, to look for me, so that it's not really difficult. So I'm going to leave number 10 there so that you can, so that you can easily locate me wherever you are. And the second one you can find me is Instagram, and it's got more of like more of my works down there. It's 7_ Israel. Let me spell it. Just small letters, ISRAEL, then underscore, then 7. Let me say it again for the viewers who really want to take it down. It's number 7_ Israel, and it's in small letters, not capital, ISRAEL, and another underscore, then 7. That's my Instagram, you know, that you can find, because when you log onto my Instagram, you'll see different things about, you know, autism and how I've done things over the years. So that's where you can find it. But if anybody wants to contact me directly, you know, just go on my Facebook and ask for my personal number or ask for my personal details, like number, whatever, and then just request for it. And then from there, you know, I can take it, you know, from there. So that's just how I would just do it, but, you know, in a certain way, so we can make it more professional.
Fantastic.
So I believe the whole viewers have got the details if they want to contact me. And for you, Shaheen, if you want me to be at your events in the future, you know, in the future, I don't know when, but in the future, you want me to speak at your certain events, please, you know, you've got my number anyway, so you can contact me anytime.
Fantastic. Yeah.
You can speak to me anytime you need to. So that's just what I'm going to let you know.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Chris. And for the benefit of all of our viewers who are watching this on social media, I'll be putting the links so you can get in touch with Chris at the bottom, the Facebook link, as well as the Instagram handle as well. Chris, thank you so much for taking part in this interview today. And to everyone who watched this, thank you all for your time and for listening. And if you did like what you saw and you want to share your story, please do get in touch with us. We want to put your voice out there in the world. So thank you once again. Thank you, Chris, and bye for now.
Bye, Shaheen.